Nestled in the quiet woods of Cedar Creek, a small American town seemingly untouched by time, Olivia thought she had found her dream home. The old colonial house stood tall at the end of a dirt road, surrounded by towering oak trees and a sprawling garden overrun by wildflowers. It was charming, if a little worn, but from the moment she moved in, something felt off. At first, it was small things. Doors she knew she had closed were left open. Lights flickered despite new bulbs. Her keys were constantly misplaced, only to reappear in the strangest places: a kitchen drawer, the bathtub, even on top of the fridge. Olivia laughed it off. It's an old house, she told herself. These things happen, but as the days turned into weeks, the strange occurrences grew harder to ignore. Late at night, she heard faint whispers coming from the empty hallway outside her bedroom. The sound of footsteps echoed in the attic above, even though it had been locked since she moved in. Once, while doing dishes, she felt a cold breath on the back of her neck. Spinning around, she found no one there. Her friends tried to reassure her. "You've been stressed since the move," they said. "You're just imagining things," but Olivia wasn't so sure. One evening, while unpacking a box in the living room, she found an old photograph tucked behind the fireplace mantel. It was a faded black and white picture of a woman in a long dress, her expression cold and unreadable. Scribbled on the back were the words, "Rosemary, 1932. That night, Olivia dreamed of a woman standing at the foot of her bed, her face pale and her eyes empty, staring into Olivia's soul. She woke up drenched in sweat, her heart pounding. For the first time, she felt true fear in the house. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Determined to find answers, Olivia visited the local library the next day. The librarian, an elderly woman named Mrs. Hargrove, raised an eyebrow when Olivia mentioned her address. "That house," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "It has a history." Mrs. Hargrove pulled out an old newspaper clipping from the archives. The headline read, "Local woman found dead in Cedar Creek home, 1932. As Olivia read on, her hands trembled. The article detailed the tragic death of Rosemary Caldwell, a reclusive woman who had lived in the house almost a century ago. Rumors suggested she had fallen down the stairs under mysterious circumstances. Some even claimed foul play, but no one was ever charged. People said she never left. Mrs. Hargrove added grimly, "Strange things have been reported in that house for decades." Olivia's mind raced as she returned home. The name Rosemary echoed in her thoughts. That night, the activity in the house escalated. The whispers became louder, more distinct. She could now make out words. "Leave." "Why are you here?" Objects moved on their own. Her dining chairs were stacked on the table, her bedroom mirror shattered without warning. And then, at the stroke of midnight, the dream returned. But this time, Olivia wasn't asleep. Rosemary stood at the foot of the bed, just as in the dream, her translucent figure glowing faintly in the darkness. "You need to leave," she whispered, her voice both mournful and menacing. "This is my home." Terrified but determined, Olivia spoke aloud, her voice shaking. "What do you want from me?" Rosemary's figure flickered, her face twisting in anguish. "I want peace, but I cannot leave until the truth is known." The next morning, Olivia made a decision. She began digging deeper into the mystery of Rosemary's death. Visiting the town archives, she discovered a journal belonging to a local handyman who had worked at the house in 1932. His final entry was chilling. Rosemary knew too much. "I had no choice." Olivia realized Rosemary's death wasn't an accident, it was murder. That night, as the wind howled through the trees, Olivia sat in her living room, holding the journal. She spoke aloud, hoping Rosemary was listening. "I know the truth now. You were killed, but you're free. You don't have to stay here anymore." For the first time, the house fell silent. The oppressive weight that had hung over it seemed to lift, and as Olivia glanced toward the hallway, she saw Rosemary one last time. The ghost's expression had softened, her translucent form fading into the light. "Thank you," she whispered. And then she was gone. The house never felt haunted again. But Olivia would always remember the woman who had lived and died there. And sometimes, late at night, she still heard the faint sound of footsteps in the attic, as if Rosemary was saying goodbye. Thank you for listening to my story. If you want to hear more scary stories, please like and subscribe to my channel.